أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين حبيبنا وصفينا أبو القاسم محمد صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم الحمد لأهله والصلاة على أهلها وسلام على من اتبع الهدى أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. It is in the instinct of man to ponder and research about religion, on how he is going to understand and how he is going to inquire about religion. This instinct, in English, it is called the intrinsic nature. This is a nature that a person is born with. In short, this is a nature that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created with man to ponder and to inquire about religion. Sometimes this intrinsic nature is referred to as the sense of curiosity. This is a sense that you as a human being, you have until you die. That is the sense of researching about reality, understanding about the metaphysical aspect of life. This is the intrinsic nature, which is in Arabic, as already mentioned, is called the fitrah. Fitrah, this is a nature that is accompanied with man in whatever situation, in whatever science and knowledge he might try to find himself into. But this nature, which is the fitrah, the intrinsic nature, is always accompanied with man. It is an automatic nature that is within man until he dies. Sometimes a human being, in the process of realization of this fitrah, realization in pondering and thinking about the truth, sometimes man is accompanied with the following questions. These are the questions which might be asked. For example, the first one is there an imperceptible and immaterial being? Is there the link between this immaterial being and our material world? In the presence of this relationship, is there a reality which created the universe? Is there the existence of man limited to this material form? If man is not limited to this material world, is there another world? And if there is, what is the relationship between these two worlds? These are some of the very important questions that man, you as an individual, as a person, as a human being who has got the capacity and the ability to reason, will be asking yourself a question in wanting to understand the sense of curiosity that might lead us to the sense of religiosity, which is the fitrah. With these very important questions, furthermore, man needs the very important and the truthful knowledge that will be the basis of him understanding this sense of curiosity into the path of realizing the sense of religion into man. So we can say that the basic attribute that man has, which will lead him to get and to capture the reality of religion, the reality of the concept of God, the reality of the life in this world and in the hereafter, the basic attribute is this intrinsic nature, which is the fitrah. This is a nature that you need. Why? Because this nature is already accompanied with you as a human being. And this nature, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has provided you with this nature. And therefore, There is no need for you to have excuses that will lead you not to understand, that will lead you not to acquire knowledge about the reality of this life, because the nature is into you. The nature of worshiping God is into you already. It is you to realize this. Another factors that may encourage man into seeking the knowledge to the path of the reality, the path of the immaterial or the metaphysical understanding or the sense of religion into man. These are the factors which can be considered to be the desires of man. But what kind of desires? One of the desires is the desires in seeking knowledge. What kind of knowledge? Materialistic knowledge. This kind of knowledge will help man and will encourage man to consolidate him into researching and finding out about the reality of religion, on how to acquire religion. When man is faced with a lot of knowledge at his disposal, for example, scientific knowledge, discoveries, other things, technology, as a result, at the end of the day, a person will have to understand, will have the sense to understand within himself to say, there is the powerful energy, the powerful being that is beyond this scientific knowledge that we have right now. So the knowledge that is at the disposal of mankind, it will help him also to trigger this sense of curiosity, which is the intrinsic nature in Arabic called the fitrah. It should be noted that psychologists and other anthropologists, they say that the nature of worshiping God in man is an independent nature to mankind, which they ascribe it, they say that this is the sense of religiosity, is a separate nature in man, which means that it is a nature that can just be an external nature, an acquired nature. It is not within man. It is not inherent into man, as parallel to the sense of curiosity. This is what the psychologists are saying. But we can prove this to the psychologists that history and anthropology itself has proven the fact that this is part of man. This sense of religiosity and the sense of curiosity is part of man, is inherent to man. There's a reason why they say that it is an independent nature to man. And one of the reasons might be that man seeks for knowledge. A person desires, a person wants to go into the field of knowledge that he wants to go into. So it is not inherent into man. But the answer to this kind of a question, the answer to this kind of allegation is that, the intrinsic nature is a nature that is within man. The sense of curiosity, and which they might call the sense of religiosity, this is a sense that is always with man, is inherent within man. And it proves the point that man has the capacity to worship God, to worship Allah since the time that he is born. Since the time that he realizes through the path of knowledge. But now the issue is that the fact that this intrinsic nature, the fitrah, is within man, does not mean that it is always active in man. Sometimes this intrinsic nature is hidden and is not exposed externally, is not realized by man. Why? Because of the influence of the social life that this man grew up into it. Sometimes distortions of understanding about God. Sometimes what we have been taught as youths, what we have been taught as children, and the kind of knowledge that is impacted into us when we are growing up, it also contributes to us not realizing the activity of the fitrah, the intrinsic nature that is into man. This kind of explanation, this might tell the psychologist that is why it is a separate or an independent nature of man. But now, perversions, distortions, superstitions, they might be the contributing factor for man not to realize his intrinsic nature, for man not to activate his intrinsic nature in acquiring about religion and inquiring about God. This is one of the things that is always there. This results in us saying that if man fails to recognize the consciousness within himself, consciously about this nature, about the fitrah, about the intrinsic nature, man will fail to explain it. He will fail to understand it. As a result, man will deny its existence within himself. So some of the people, they're using intellect, they're using logic in proving the point that the intrinsic nature, the sense of curiosity and this sense of religiosity is an independent nature. It's because that maybe they don't understand it. Maybe it is not active into them. That is why they deny its existence within man. But think about it. Ask yourself many important questions about your sense of worshiping. You as a human being, you have the sense into you that tells you that there is something I'm supposed to give respect to. There is something that I'm supposed to be humble to. There is a nature that is higher than my nature, which makes my nature and my energy to be humbled towards that nature. That is the intrinsic nature. That is a sense of religiosity. That is a sense of curiosity. And that is a fitrah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Qiyamah verses number 5, He says that Na'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Bal yuridul insanu liyafjura amamahu. But man desires to go on living viciously. This is the verse to all those people who are claiming that this intrinsic nature is an independent nature. For example, the psychologists that are saying that the intrinsic nature is rather the sense of religiosity, which is an independent nature to man, which is the nature that man learns the process. It is not within man. But now, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, He tells them that they desire to live viciously without realizing, without understanding, without studying themselves, without studying the past history, without studying the reason that is within themselves that should make them realize to activate the sense of religiosity, the sense of curiosity into them. This is what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says. This makes us realize that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also warns and mentions about the people that are not into the line of understanding their own true nature, the nature that makes them realize the worship and inquiring into knowledge. Then if man is not acquiring and wanting to venture into the path of understanding the knowledge and the inquiring of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, it is the laziness of this man. It is not that there is no disposure or exposition of information and knowledge that is there. No. But because of the laziness of man. And sometimes because of what man wants to achieve, which is besides religion, in trying to think that if you acquire or inquire into religion, there is no that benefit that will be for you, that is the material benefit. But no. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala again in Surah Al-Anfal 22, He says that indeed the worst beasts in the sight of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, they are the dumb, the deaf, and those who fail to apply reason. So if you fail to apply reason, your understanding is minor, and then you start refusing and denying the existence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the inherent nature of your intrinsic nature into you, the fitrah, then it is not because that it is not there. It is because that the application of your reasoning is less and is minor, which makes you deny the existence of fitrah and the existence of that intrinsic nature into man. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.
Inna Allah wa malaikatahu yusalluna ala an-nabi ya ayyuhalladhina amanu sallu alayhi wa sallimu taslima.